Before we get started in this video, I just want to thank these people on the screen for supporting our show. If you want to support us and help bring more free educational videos like this, the link is in the description. There's no shortage of swing systems out there, but one that's gained a lot of attention lately is Saguto Golf. Thanks to your vote, we're going to discuss his theory today, as we're taking a closer look at what Tom Saguto teaches, how his method stands apart from other popular instruction, and why it's working for some golfers, but potentially not for everybody. And as always, I'll break this down through the lens of biomechanics, body matchups, and real-world application, not just surface-level opinion. This isn't about calling anyone right or wrong, it's helping you understand whether this approach fits your swing or if it actually works against you. We will also take a look at Tom swinging a golf club to see his cause and effect. So what is Saguto Golf? Well, Tom Saguto teaches a system rooted in stack and tilt concepts. The core principles include keeping your weight foot forward through the swing, maintaining a centered spine with backward tilt, reducing or eliminating any lateral shift, and encouraging a rotational move around a fixed axis. It's all about compression, stability, and a simplified low point control model. In his words, stop swaying and start striking the ball pure. Most instruction talks about load, shift, and fire. Tom throws that out the window. His model is about starting stacked and staying stacked. You don't load into your trail side, you rotate around a stable spine. Where others encourage separation, he prioritizes unity between the upper and lower body through the motion. In a biomechanical context, this simplifies the kinematic chain, which for many golfers can reduce timing errors. So there are many good things that occur by using this system, which includes low point control, which is one of the biggest problems amateur golfers face. Saguto's model does emphasize forward pressure and vertical shaft delivery, making it much easier to strike the ball first, ground second. And players who sway, early extend, or lift through impact will benefit from the anchored pivot approach. According to Dr. Phil Chetham's 3D kinematic research, amateur players tend to have the largest variance in pelvic sway and vertical lift. Saguto's system minimizes both, reducing variables that cause inconsistency. It also provides structure. Golfers who are overwhelmed by swing tips can latch onto this method and find rapid improvements, at least initially. Now, this system does not account for individual mobility, anatomical variances, or athletic history. According to Dr. Greg Rose from the Titleist Performance Institute, over 70% of tested amateur golfers lack sufficient internal hip rotation to rotate fully without shifting. If you apply Saguto's model to someone like that, they'll either stall rotation or create excessive early extension. Players with longer femurs, tight thoracic spines, or looser joint structures often require a pressure shift to sequence properly. Trying to stay stacked can decrease swing speed, reduce ground force interaction, or even lead to overuse discomfort in the lumbar spine for some. And this swing style encourages a lot of shaft lean, which may lower launch and spin excessively for some players. So who this swing might work for is players who rotate well and need stability, golfers who struggle with fat shots, sway, or lift, and those looking for a repeatable single feel model, which, if you can find, works great. Who this might not work for is golfers with hip mobility issues or spinal limitations. Players who generate swing speed through lateral pressure loading, such as Kyle Berkshire and Justin Thomas, and anyone who naturally swings underplane and uses ground forces for their sequencing. So Saguto's swing does not allow much dynamic adjustability, so if your body doesn't match the blueprint, your swing might break trying to fix it. But on the contrary, it could work wonders for you. But now we're going to take a look at Tom Saguto's swing, give you his cause and effect from face on and down the line. And remember, these cause and effects are based purely on setup and how the compensations occur from that setup. So we're going to watch a quick 1-minute short from Tom Saguto explaining what he believes creates power in the golf swing. Then we're going to look at his golf swing after this.
Power is created on a circle, on an arc. When I tilt over to the golf ball, there's my tilted swing circle. We just have to learn to maximize the power sources on the circle. So we start learning to swing the club inward in the golf swing instead of trying to go all the way straight back forever and forever, because that'd be a literal straight line. So we're going more inward with the hands in the backswing. Another thing that we're going to do is we start getting the hips to turn more. So instead of shifting weight into the trail side, we start learning to turn our hips. This is more angular power. And that looks like this leg straightening and this leg moving in towards the ball. Another thing you see with professional golfers. And then as I change that knee flex, I can get more shoulder turn, which gives me a lot more power. So I'm maximizing power sources in the golf.
So we know that Tom is an accomplished golfer. I'm not sure what his ability is, but I would imagine he's at the very most a scratch handicap. He is probably hovering around the +1s, +2, +3 range, which is a very good golfer. So the one concern I have is when somebody's teaching a motion that works for them, that feel could get lost in translation, and realistically, it works for them because it works for them based on their setup and based on what their body's physically able to do. Now, I'm not saying this isn't good for people. I'm sure there's tons of people that this can help with, but keep that in mind. It could also not align with how you are built. So let's get this thing started on the road, and we have our usual lines. We'll break it down as we go. So on the left side of the screen, we've got the Barney Purple lower plane, upper plane line. This just shows you where that club should be based on your setup, and that setup is changed by the amount of forward bend you have, which is signified on the left side with our Gumby green. The back brace line is mellow yellow, and this big red line is once again the centeredness. And on the right side of the screen, we have our mellow yellow line, which signifies if you turn or if you sway, and then we have our Gumby green line, which is shoulder tilt and where the hands should be connected based on the starting point, which we do see there slightly back of the shoulder tilt. We have our Ivan red, which shows you that forward press relative to that center shoulder tilt. And then we have a little blue line here. Now this blue line is basically the compensation that needs to occur when you have a forward press that is preset at your golf swing. There is another compensation that could occur when you tilt back to hold the angle, so you make sure you still swing up while holding the angle, but that's a very rare one, usually reserved for the long ball strikers. So we'll watch this swing play over. Now just keep in mind that with a heel-based setup, I have noticed, and this is not scientific evidence, I've just noticed through many years of teaching, that when somebody's set up on their heels, typically they have more rotation and less slide, and their hands will stay lower longer. When somebody's on their toes, they can have more rotation, but the hands want to go more up and get steeper just because there's more room to use down at impact, so they don't have to create room, so the hands and arms take advantage of that and just work their way more up and down. So we know this is a heel-based motion. We're looking for the hands to go a little bit more inside, and we're looking for more turn with the lower body. Because it's heel-based, it's easy to do so. So we see on the right side of the screen, we do get that immediate turn with the hips. I mean, look at the spacing that has already been created right in this range. That is just a very good turn initially. Now, remember, when you do turn, that right leg will straighten out a lot. We see on the right side of the screen there. On the left side of the screen, we take a look at his arms. His arms and hands are doing a really good job of staying on that lower Barney line. We do see that club venturing lower than the Barney Purple, which is fine. There's plenty of ways to skin a cat, and this works for him. However, we do see the shoulder tilt starting to level out. So if we take a look at the shoulders midway back, we can start to see the left shoulder is definitely getting higher based on the spine angle. Now, this could be because it was such a forward bend spine angle with a 3-wood that it is hard to keep your turn and tilt relationship together, because if his tilt matched that 90 degrees of that spine angle, we can probably start to see some issues that occur, meaning the ground will get in his way on the way down, so we'd have to compensate differently. As we take that club even higher, now we can start to see he's definitely still in his lower plane line, which is great because that initiates a lot of turn, and the more turn you have, like he says, the deeper you become sooner. So already he is plenty deep enough, specifically since that is his center setup. We can see how much more behind his center is already. On the right side of the screen, we can see a great separation. Again, we see him loading correctly. The great thing about this too is he's able to stay centered very well. So we take a look at that center line. If we go from there and go back to the start of the swing, we can see that he's just pivoting around a centered line. Now at the top of the swing here, let's erase that yellow line so we don't get too confused. The one on the left side is with a 3-wood, the one on the right side is with an iron. So we are going to be striking down more with the iron. So we know the right side is wanting to hit more down, the left side not necessarily want to hit more down. On the right side of the screen, if we're going to draw an arrow, and we can see that upper body is pointing down towards the ground. So he does a really good job of turning his hips, but not collapsing on the left side. The one thing I do fear is if we start to get somebody that just focuses on that hip turn and creating spacing here, the right leg becomes so straight that the left leg absorbs that, and we start to get our hip tilt down too far, and we start to lean way too much into the ground. That's the one concern I would have with somebody that is doing this on their own. Now, the left side of the screen, we do see those arms do get to the secondary plane line pretty much spot on, except they are slightly lower than they need to be. And if we start to look at the shoulder tilt here, it is definitely raising up. What you'll also notice is we're starting to see evidence of losing spine angle initially. So look at the left side. We're going to look at the back brace line. We're starting to lose a little bit of real estate there, and we're starting to stand a little bit up, which will then give you perpendicular shoulders from that new spine angle. On the right side of the screen does a great job of keeping that turn beautiful. Look how much turn it gets, and the club is nowhere near to forming a T. So this is really connected, really good position. We have a great triangle check here. One great thing about getting your triangle to be in his type of position is your transition. You don't have to reconnect as much. You don't need a lot of vertical drop and then rotation. Here, we can just basically rotate and let the hands fall down more naturally. So this is a great thing. Let's see if that occurs. Look at that. Look at the hands. They just fall right down to the center of the triangle. So this is a really, really good transition. But if you take a look at this, now we see that that club shaft is a slight bit steep for his liking. So he will have to develop something to allow him to drop that club further back to his lower plane line. So there might be two things that I see occurring here. Number one is we lose more spine angle and start to stand up more, which will allow that club to get in the lower plane line quicker. Number two is he does not lose his spine angle from this point on, and he engages some tilting. Now, when you engage tilting, that could help you drop that club even more in the slot to catch up, and also get your hand path to finish a little bit more right of where it would go if you turned. So let's take a look. Left side, one, we don't see spine angle loss. We see that club now falling down below, and we are starting to engage some tilt. Two, we definitely see the tilt be more engaged. We're not losing spine angle from that midway point. And when we strike it, there's that shoulder tilt engaged. Look at the hands. The hands are staying more out. They're traveling straighter because of the tilt. Now we know there's more tilt because if we do a tilt check, we'll see how much more tilt he has than the average tour professional. So we have 61 degrees. And let's go to the very top, and we have a 26 degrees. So we are now jumping up 35 degrees. That is a lot of tilt from the top of your swing to impact, specifically for a wood. So the compensations are there. The compensations work for him on the left side of the screen. Are these compensations that I would recommend? Hey, if it works for you, do it. Who cares? But what are the odds of this working for average people that have lives and kids they got to go pick up from soccer practice and jobs they have to work at? I don't know. It's going to be challenging. Right side of the screen, let's take a look at that same action. So once he has set this right hip, so we're going to see where that edges from the right hip straight down to the ground. Watch the right hip. The right hip does not fall back over. It just stays there. So this is a really good position here to be in. So if you can get this done, it can definitely help you drive into the ground and utilize those ground forces. Like he said, he has not shifted right or left at all. He is still in his center point. But remember that blue line? Watch that blue line. As he strikes the golf ball, his center of his chest has found that blue line and it stays there. But right here, we know that we're going to increase tilt. So watch the tilting of the shoulders. And when that tilting of the shoulders occurs, what's happening to his spine angle? It changes completely. It goes from one that is straight up and down, one frame, two frames, and we see the spine angle now is caught up with the hands. Now, what can help this too is driving the hips. Now, the hips, when they drive this way, the shoulders and spine angle fall back to accommodate, to catch up with each other at impact. Because they're playing slight bit catch up at impact, we see that right hand does throw slightly to help catch up the club head. So if we delete all those lines and take a look at the relationship between the shoulder tilt and that club head. So there's the club head right there. We can see it ghosting out a little bit. Bam, look at that. It is perpendicular to the center of his circle. And the center of his circle is right where his spine meets his shoulders. We take a look at the hands. They're slightly back of that. They had to throw slightly to get the club to catch up. So we do see that disconnection at impact that we saw at the beginning of the swing when his hands were not connected to the center of his chest. They were essentially behind him. So he still carries that. Now, why is that important? Because this is basically a swing that, as I always say, swings evolve around setups. You change your setup, you can change your swing. Now, if you go ahead and change your setup, doesn't mean it instantly changes your swing. You also have to address your swing while you change your setup, because one forms the other. Chicken or the egg, we just don't know who came out first. So to sum this all up, I think Saguto Golf is a modern adaptation of the stack and tilt method, which was designed to simplify striking by keeping the weight forward and pivot centered and the motion rotational throughout the swing. It's a system that is built for consistency and compression, which is key, and for some players, especially those struggling with sway, lift, or contact issues, it can offer some real improvement. But like any system, it is not universal. So for those players with mobility limitations, different body matchups, or who rely on dynamic weight shifts, you might find this restrictive or even counterproductive. Just remember, golf improvement isn't about following one theory, it's about understanding what your body can do and building a swing that works with you and not against it. I do hope that helps you. Let me know in the comments down below if you have tried Tom's stuff, if it works for you. If it doesn't, let me know how it's been for you in the comments below. I won't be here this weekend. I'm going down to teach, so there's no Red Night Live this weekend, but we'll catch back up starting next Sunday. So if you do have swing submissions, give them to me. But other than that, I'll see you next time. Fairways and greens.